20 years ago. Mr. Speaker, while we are brought here as individual representatives, we bear collective responsibility to national life and fortune, pressing issues that affect the country, that bind us in national mission. And looming before us is the challenge of environmental repair, the task of addressing the impact of climate change. Regardless of the accumulated contributions of generations before, we are now called upon to correct the damage done. We will either take decisions on this matter now or avoid them, and in so doing, we will either liberate generations of Australians from a poorer future or consign them to it. On this issue, I am conscious of those that are to follow us. I would hope that they would judge us in the way we proudly remember Australian generations of times gone past, that we bore sacrifice now to ensure that our children's children could live their lives as richly, if not better, than us. Growing up, I saw how Labor governments of the 80s and 90s appealed to a sense of national purpose to build a better country. Mr. Speaker, we are drawn now to what I would describe as a generational purpose. And we cannot be distracted by the notion of waiting for others before committing to action ourselves, seduced to embrace a form of climate change isolationism to make us shirk our responsibilities, as if hoping our consciences will be secure in blaming others for our own unwillingness to take up our environmental obligations. I recall the economic reforms that occurred in years gone by, such as the massive trade liberalisation we undertook 20 years ago. We never waited for trade doors to be opened elsewhere before doing what was right for the country. We made the right call. We set up the Cairns Group. We pushed for APEC. We prosecuted the cause elsewhere. Australia and the world is now better for this. The same must follow on addressing climate change and preparing our economy for a future less reliant on current carbon levels. Mr. Speaker, I was born within a generation where capitalism and communism struggled across different planes for supremacy, and we lived under the shadow of potential elimination. That contest has been closed, but I argue that the question of how we organise ourselves to improve society continues to evolve. We're now driven by a new quest to establish a balance between the hunger for individual freedom and the need for us to act collectively. My overarching desire is to ensure our collective actions can help individuals and their communities reap their full potential. My fundamental worldview rests at its core on the notion of balance. I do not just tolerate alternate views, I remain open to them. I learn and grow from them, and I value differences in our society and in our debates about the future of our society. We should celebrate our different skills and ideas, while realising that at some point we must combine our energies and effort for the sake of community and country. Having said that, I do not believe in delegating burden or responsibility to others. Industry can and should advocate economic and tax reform, but they can't expect someone else to pay for it. Small business should be freed from red tape and benefit from strong trade practices laws, but understand that there will be those that strive to improve the security of employment for their employees. Employees should be protected by fair workplace laws, while understanding that strong balance sheets and stronger profits are one of the best job security measures going around. And politicians, Mr. Speaker, can't expect that perpetual electoral victory through short-term tactical wins at the expense of hard but necessary reform will honour the country we love and work for. Fear is not what should be used to win or run government. It's what we beat back with the courage within government, courage to prove we can be better than who we are. Ultimately, we are all in this journey together. We will make sacrifices together. We will be enriched together. Following these previous points, I seek to make one other. I mentioned earlier that we rightly celebrate 20 years of economic growth. On so many levels, we live a vastly better life than our parents and their parents. But while wealth has expanded phenomenally, we are not only failing to share this better within society, but it seems we expect greater sacrifice from those who should not be called upon to bear so much. We work some of the longest hours in the world, much of it as unpaid overtime. Full-time employment is being challenged by casualisation as the predominant form of work. Outsourcing wears down conditions, security, and the share of economic growth and wealth that is snared by profits is at its highest in 50 years, while the wages share stands at its lowest. Wealth has certainly blossomed, but it's not hard for me to sympathise with the view that we are witnessing a distorted transfer of wealth from pay packets to balance sheets. The laws of this land have a big part to play in bringing back some balance, and if we all have a stake in the success of our country, we should ensure we savour a fair share of that success. In this place, this issue remains critical to me, because with respect, Mr Speaker, we are not, as some would describe, a market democracy. We are a democracy which operates a market economy. We have civic responsibilities and economic priorities. It's worth remembering that in some parts of the world, the hand of the market works one way, while another hand suppresses the liberties of those that live and work within it. Again, a concentration on balance should guide the decisions we make in this House. Mr Speaker, at this point I would like to turn to the experiences of a man who 50 years ago decided his fortune and future lay beyond the confines of a country village in Europe. He travelled from one hemisphere to the other. He made hard choices and sacrifices. He did it without formal education. He succeeded without the safety net of a healthy bank balance. He brought his wife over. They started a family without one around them. They raised their children in Western Sydney. He travelled the country for his work as a welder, working on iconic projects inaugurated by a Chifley government, the Snowy Mountain Scheme. His wife taught herself English and made sure their children learned their multiplication tables before dinner, regardless of their resistance or howls of hunger. Their story may sound similar to many, but was very special to my brother Alan, my sister Sabina and I. And on behalf of my siblings, we remain perpetually grateful that our nation's public service was so efficient in processing my father's application for immigration, because I'm telling you right now, I do not know how we could have ever brought ourselves to support the Springboks. Thanks for that. Between both of my parents, Hasib and Hasiba, I was taught the biggest of life's lessons, but always carry within me my mother's words. As important it is to have food on the table, we also have to feed the soul. My parents are here today, along with our friends and my extended Bosnian family. Welcome. To my family spread across Europe, my love and thoughts. And welcome to the Honourable Ambassador of Bosnia-Herzegovina, Damir Arnaut, who joins us in the chamber today. Mum and Dad, I dedicate this speech to you, to your dreams, your journey, your toil. Od mog srca, tvome srcu, ne mogu da te dosta zahvalim. From my heart to yours, I cannot thank you enough. Mr Speaker, as I